right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Greetings to you all. Greetings. Thank you for your love and for your healing as I recovered from yet again another bout of COVID. This was that I know of my second bout. I think it was only my second bout, but yeah, I feel good. But it was a little scary. This video is a little bit different than other videos I have done in the past. So let me start first with an introduction, since some of the people that are tuning in probably have never heard of me. I am the Oracle of Whimsy. I'm Dr. Whimsy Anderson. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm also a medical anthropologist. Um, The reason that I'm making this video is because I wanted to open up a conversation between healthcare providers, but also just the general public who have concerns about the abuse of ketamine and the overprescribing of ketamine and the dangers of prescribing ketamine. And I want to go into that briefly here. But I want to start first by saying thank you for being here. Liking and subscribing helps the channel. I love to always bring this channel into the fun, the entertaining. We do a lot of mindfulness. We play tarot. We have fun here, but we also try to come up with creative, fun ways to have real conversations about how scientists collect data, how we come to conclusions about certain things. And this is a video about ketamine being used as a recreational drug or being overprescribed and its dangers. And specifically, I want to call on the dangers of prescribing ketamine in somebody who maybe has a pre-existing condition like a personality disorder or a head injury, certain types of head injuries, certain dissociative disorders, Asperger's, which can have, there can be overlap between dissociation disorders, Asperger's, and some kinds of antisocial behavior. So when you have that kind of overlap, you need to be very careful about medications that may encourage disassociation, because when you have disassociation, you have potentially the individual disconnects from their empathy, right? So if a person is already struggling with being empathetic and you remove any traces of empathy from them, then potentially that person becomes very, very, very dangerous indeed. And when we talk about wanting to feel better mentally and emotionally, we have to kind of sort out what that means. For a lot of people, it means they don't want to feel ashamed anymore of what they have done. Now, from a therapeutic perspective, in my office, I have to determine if the shame or the guilt is real, because children don't have any perspective. They don't know whether they've done good or bad. They're taking cues from adults. So if an adult makes them feel like they're bad or makes them feel shameful, even if objectively they haven't done anything that would cause shame, the individual still carries an irrational shame that has nothing to do with objective reality. And then this said individual will live in a world that validates that childlike, egocentric view of the world. They may join a cult that blames the victim. We've talked about that. Victim bashing in the New Age movement, or what some of my patients have called New Age Nazis, which is pretty harsh, where they went to spiritual teachers and were told that they brought the crimes of that were put against them on them, etc. So it creates this kind of pattern of shame and guilt that is irrational. It also keeps the person trapped emotionally in their own childhood. I've certainly struggled with these issues myself. Full disclosure, as do we all, sometimes with irrational shame. But then there's real guilt and real shame, or having a conscience when you know that you have done something that has truly harmed another individual. And we look at things like the psychopath scale, where we measure someone as, how deviant are they? How much of an antisocial individual are they? And so we have a scale of, say, 1 to 24 in terms of just how much lacking in compassion. For every point, it's not good. My sister is a saint. She scores somewhere around a 9. 6 or a 9, I think. We score a little bit higher than most people because of a difficult childhood, but I score higher. I score about a 12. I can be I can be very devious, right? But a deviant I would say a deviant in the sense of like James Dean, Rebel Without a Cause, would fall somewhere in the category of maybe 17 to 19, petty theft, always looking to get ahead, has leadership potential, often breaks away from the tribe, goes and forms their own tribe somewhere else, and that actually can propel people into the 21st century or into the next century. Mick Jagger would be a classic deviant. He brings music, art, etc., new ways of looking at things, controversial, sexist, likes younger women. He's a deviant, but also this the great stuff that can come from deviation. Moses would be considered a deviant, right? Maybe he had social anxiety. Aaron had to bail him out. That's one theory. Stuttered, had social anxiety. Maybe he had a social disorder. He was a deviant. He had to go off, create a new identity, a new way of doing things that propels us out of slavery into something really positive. So these are examples of where deviation, or being right on the cusp, can actually be a positive in society. But when it becomes more destructive than constructive is when the person loses touch with empathy entirely. And the danger of drugs like ketamine is that they are dissociative, that they are basically dissociative anesthetic drugs that are given to help an individual dissociate. They can be taken intravenously, intramuscularly, intranasally, oral or subcutaneous, sublingual, oral pills, liquids, etc. They can be easily smuggled into, say, the Capitol. No one's going to be checking for something like that. I don't think a small little vial or something like that. Subcutaneous also, they can go under the tongue. And this is how you could take them. Without anybody knowing, or you could also get high at a party. And again, if you don't have a conscience, or you have, if you don't have a conscience, say you suffer from autism, and that's you may have deep feelings, but have a difficulty reading or interpreting other people, or you may have had a head injury when you were 10, beaten up, head injury, and the temporal lobe area, the left temporal lobe, can impact speech. It can do all kinds of things. But if you look at the work from Dan Amen's, these types of injuries, also lesions in that area, can cause abrupt mood changes in people, or what we call like demon mode, which is sometimes seen in people like Elon Musk, where they will often go into irrational tempers. And in fact, autopsies have shown lesions in those areas in people that have that, lesions, injuries, etc. Tumors. So, why are we having this conversation? We're having this conversation because, uh, prescribing these drugs then becomes a national and global security risk. So you take the drug, you go into the bathroom, you drink it, and then usually you're going to, it's going to hit about 20 minutes later. You're going to get that dissociative anesthetic feeling that you want. Now, why would you take it? Why would you take a medication like this? Well, if you had social anxiety, if you felt bad in crowds, if you were autistic and getting overstimulated in a crowd, and you felt closed in. These are common sensations we will see when we're working with someone who's on the autism spectrum and they have to be in a closed area, particularly tight. This is very difficult for my autistic patients, to be in a crowd, constantly overly stimulated, too much noise, not knowing where to focus, being pushed, feeling the sensations of the bodies next to them, the heat, the different heat. The problem with an autistic is that they're actually too sensitive. It's too much stimulation and they're on overload. They're just taking in too much. It's too much. It's too much. So what do? You take a dissociative drug. Whoa, now I'm back. Now I can focus. Because without it, it's too much. It's too much stimulation. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to cope with all these people next to me, all the lights, all the sounds, and then the drug comes in, the disassociation. And again, the danger here of why we're having this conversation is that when you lose empathy, when you lose all empathy, then you can engage in horrific acts against others with and the other issue here is that if you already were struggling with empathy, if you were already having a difficult time for whatever reason with empathy, then a medication like ketamine could theoretically remove remove you from any conscience at all, because of how it impacts the prefrontal cortex, the areas of the brain that we're researching that we believe are associated with empathy and the ability to think before you act, and the limbic system and its connection to the limbic system. So that is the area that is being cut off. And that is the conversation that I think that we need to have. Yeah, about not just this individual, but how these medications could be impacting the choices of the people that are on those medications, and how it could be a threat to the planet, basically. Especially when they're prescribed to somebody who may have a personality disorder and already has limited empathy. That cocktail is a global crisis. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. Please, I invite those of you in various different medical fields, as well as those of you who simply watch the channel, to have a conversation. And thank you for watching. Be well.